All right, hey, what's up, everybody? Mike Lindsley back with you for an ML Sports Take. It's all brought to you by Stanley Law Office's Brian Conboy of Mass Mutual, New York State, and our great friends over at Prestwick Golf. If you're in and around central New York, make sure you get those golf grips redone every year by Ed Patterson and the gang. They do an amazing job on Court Street. They've got also new and used clubs from the best dealers around: Titleist, Cobra, Callaway, TaylorMade, Ping, you name it. Ed can get them. Prestwick Golf, the official golf gripper of the ML Sports Platter. Let's get to today's game with the Bills and the Dolphins. And I got to tell you, I mean, for about 3/4 plus, I thought that this had a lot of the theme of last week, albeit against a weaker team. And Pittsburgh, by the way, lost to the Vegas Raiders today. But a very weak team in Miami compared to Pittsburgh. The Bills with A.J. Epinesa, in the first half, going up and hitting that shoulder of Tua. He goes down, and then they bring in Jacoby Brissett. I thought the Bills really, up 14-0 at the half, should have been up 21 or 24-0, and then in the third quarter, I thought they should have been up like in the 40s. I mean, that's how much I thought they dominated this game. The defense for the Bills was absurd. Now, there's another story to tell about this. The Miami offensive line is not very good, and they missed a ton of assignments. If you watch the first quarter quickly, and again, the tape will tell us everything. Watch the tape, watch the tape. But to a degree, the tape is never as great as it looks. It's never as bad as it looks. Everybody knows that. The reality is, with this situation with Miami, they did miss a lot of guys. I mean, they missed a lot of assignments. The tackles had no idea what they were doing every single time out there. And when Tua would roll, the tackles actually wouldn't roll with him to block. They would go inside. I don't know if they were guessing wrong, thinking it was a run or what, or if it was just too hot today. I have no idea, but the Bills won 35-0. I thought they played basically a B- game. I thought Josh Allen was awful today. I thought for the majority of the time he was absolutely horrible. There were a couple of big-time throws that he had, late in the first half. There's only about 4 or 5 quarterbacks in the NFL: Rodgers, Mahomes, Allen, etc. Maybe even a Justin Herbert. Now you could throw him in that category, who can throw that little duck throw, corner sideline, just over the secondary man, right in the nip and tuck spot of the hands for the wide receiver. Allen did that once. I thought Allen was phenomenal in terms of getting out of certain situations as well. I mean, the third down run in the first half, extending the chains and all the rest. Second half, he appeared to kind of get going a little bit, but his numbers weren't great. 17-33, 179, 2 touchdowns. His rating was 75.2. And by the way, Josh Allen overthrew a lot of people. I mean, in the first half, he overthrew Diggs by a mile. He had a ton of overthrows in the second half. I don't know if the jitters have to come out. Is it the contract? Are you overconfident? I have no idea. The Bills did rely on the run game a lot today, though, and I thought that the run game delivered, especially baby bull Zach Moss in the second half. 8 for 26 and 2 touchdowns. He was awesome. In fact, in the second half, Zach Moss reminded me of last year's Zach Moss. Second half against the Broncos, second half against the Pittsburgh Steelers. In those two games, Zach Moss grinded down the defense when the Bills had the lead. Today, same exact thing. He was terrific. 8 for 26, only averaged 3.3 with 2 touchdowns. But again, he's a red zone threat because he can run and get it in. He keeps the legs moving. And he's a guy who you can just grind the defense on when you have the lead. That's a big-time thing. That's going back to 80s, 70s, 60s. Well, maybe not 70s, but 80s for sure, outside of San Francisco. But the 80s, 90s, NFL, where you used to use the run to set up the play action, etc. The Emmitt Smiths, the Barry Sanderses of the world. We remember, obviously, those days way long ago. It was always about the run game, going back to the 40s and 50s and the George Halas Bears and the like. And, the Green Bay Packers of the Lombardi era, right? I mean, Jim Taylor, Paul Hornung, play action passes off of the run to the likes of Max McGee. So I thought the Bills were outstanding in the run game. A lot of awesome kind of maneuvering, shifting, and a lot of motion blocking and a lot of zone blocking today, and a lot of great stuff with guards pulling, tackles going in. And Devin Singletary, 13 carries for 82 yards and a touchdown. We know he had that big explosive run in the first half, the first quarter, actually. which was just outstanding for him. It was great to see him get on the board. He did put in the work in the offseason. That was a 46-yarder for the Bills, just a two-play drive. They ended up getting the Stephon Diggs touchdown after that from Josh Allen. Just a remarkable play by Josh Allen. Again, this was one of his bright spots of the day. He went to the right. He faked first. The rusher bit, and then he went to the right, waited, threw across his body. Diggs fell down on the play and then ran back in the end zone, and Allen was able to connect with Stephon Diggs. He took a lick at the end of that, but a great play by Josh Allen. And then Dawson Knox got in the act with an 8-yard pass from Josh Allen in the third quarter. Zach Moss with a 7-yard run. Zach Moss with a 1-yard touchdown run in the fourth quarter to really ice it for the Buffalo Bills. So a good win for the Bills. Not a great win, but it's a division game. Miami looked good against the Patriots last week. There was a lot of hype going into this game that the Bills wouldn't be able to figure it out, that Miami maybe could take a stranglehold on the division, which is absurd, which I heard the play-by-play man for CBS, Brandon G, say today. One of the dumbest comments I've ever heard in my entire life. You don't take a stranglehold on shit in week 2. I got news for you. Even if Buffalo had somehow laid another egg today, they have 2 home games at 1 o'clock coming up against the Washington football team with I know that, Heineke played well on Thursday Night Football, but let's be honest, with the way the Bills D played today, keep that same game plan, push, rush. Great defense for Washington. But those are 2 1 o'clock home games. You beat Washington however you do it, and then you play one of the worst teams in the football in the Houston Texans. I mean, it's basically an expansion roster. How are you basically in danger of a stranglehold on the division? It's one of the most atrocious things I've ever heard on a broadcast. And by the way, the Miami Dolphins today, 1-1, very humbled. We'll see what the injury looks like for Tua Tagovailoa. Great job, though, by the Bills defense today as a whole. I'm just going to wrap with a couple of quick stats here. Trey White was all over the field. I mean, he had 9 tackles, 7 of them solo. Micah Hyde, again, everywhere, had a sack, 7 tackles, 4 were solo. A.J. Klein got in it. Matt Milano was all over the place. Greg Russo was fantastic. This Bills defense really, they got after it, and they followed the blueprint in terms of what they had to do. The Buffalo Bills had 6 sacks today. That's a lot for an NFL game. And I got to tell you, one of the guys who can be a major difference maker for this football team, and keep an eye on this guy because next year he's going to have a major role because there's going to be no Jerry Hughes. There's going to be no Mario Addison. The guy I'm looking at is A.J. Epineza. He was all over the place today. Just had the 1 tackle, but he was everywhere, and he obviously hit Tua to knock him out of the game. I obviously hope Tua was okay, but Epinesa was all over the place, so be on the lookout for him in terms of next season for sure. And let's face it, the rest of this year, you can move and match him. You can blitz him from the inside, from the outside, put him way out on the edge. A.J. Epinesa, great game there. So the Bills' defense shined, depth, versatility, quickness. They dominated Miami at the line of scrimmage. Miami's offensive line has a lot to work on. They missed a ton of assignments. But the Bills, I thought, played a B- game today. Allen was not great. The offensive line, not great. Darrell Williams, another tough day. A lot of penalties on both sides again. A couple of them were kind of helter-skelter, a little sketchy, especially the Trey White PI, DPI in the first half. But the Bills played a B- game and beat a division team that last year went into Buffalo and all they had to do was win no matter what. And they got absolutely smoked. While the Bills continue to own the Dolphins 35-0 today. B- game, the Bills win by 5 touchdowns. And now, Washington football team is up next. Mike Lindsley with you here. It is an ML Sports Take. Thanks for watching. All brought to you by our great friends at Stanley Law Offices, Bryant and Stratton College of Syracuse, Brian Comboy of Mass Mutual New York State, and our great friends over at Axe Exotic Pets. As I always tell you, enjoy the games.